Hi everyone, Ron Crider here. This is a pre-episode of Two Old White Guys Without Privilege. This isn't even episode 1. This is just kind of a test to see if you might like what we're doing. It's Kevin Bakko and Ron Crider. At the end of the program, if you like what you have seen, let us know you like it, subscribe to the channel, and there may be more of them. So stay tuned, and here we go. Here comes Kevin. He's going to kind of act as the anchor today because he's the bigger guy. Hey, Kevin.
Welcome to the debut episode of Two Old White Guys Without Privilege. My name's Kevin Bakko. I'm joined by Ron Crider. He and I have known each other for more than a quarter of a century, but as you can probably tell by looking at him, he's more than a quarter century old. I'm coming to you from Houston, Texas. He's in Vero Beach, Florida. And these are just a few things you need to know about this podcast that come from me so you can have some context. I am an old white guy, but I'm not as old as Ron because quite frankly.
That's the second time you said that, by the way, just so we get that straight.
Yeah, well, you know, we could open every program with nobody's as old as Ron. You know,
Right.
Few people are. Anyway, the name of our program, Two Old White Guys Without Privilege.
Don't you have a little sign you can stick up there?
Yeah, well, actually, you know what I can do? I can be extremely helpful here in many of our respects, although if Donald comes home early, I was never here, okay?
Okay, well, I'll make sure. Okay, look at this.
So then we'll do that one instead. And again, like this says, he and I are both veterans of the military, misinformation, and multiple marriage. So we have an entire plethora of life experience from which to choose from with regard to our comments, our commentary, our thoughts, and so forth. Back to what I was saying just a few moments ago. The whole white guy with privilege or white privilege. Seriously? I mean, the connotation of that word as espoused by today's liberal intelligentsia, an oxymoron if I ever heard one, implies that you've been given something for nothing. In the real world in which Ron and I grew up, you earned privileges. You did X on the promise of being given Y, and if you did it, great. If you don't, well, better luck next time. You know, too bad. You know, Ron and I grew up in an age where there was no such thing as a participation trophy. Come on.
I hate those things.
If you came in 4th or 124th, you got nothing except for the motivation, hopefully, the motivation to try harder next time. You know,
Plus, we didn't have to compete against those girls in track. You remember? Because now the guys have to compete against the girls in track.
well, no, actually, it's the other way around. The girls have to compete against the guys.
I was trying to be funny. See, I try to be funny and it doesn't work. But never mind.
No, yeah, you just, it's a timing thing, Ron.
I'll work on it.
Anyway, you know, at the end of the day, the bottom line is today's millennials, you know, they think the old farts like Ron and I couldn't have possibly achieved what we have in this life unless someone had given it to us. You know, for some reason, they seem to think the word earned is connected with the coronavirus. And that has nothing to do with the beer and the lime and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's primarily because they don't want to be forced to have to earn anything. You know, their expectation is that there would be minimal performance standards. And, you know, God forbid we hold somebody to a standard. You know, they bitch about not being handed whatever it is in life, to which I say, get off your ass and work for it. If you don't like your life as it is today, right now, then do something about it. Now, I'm a conservative. I have been for as long as I can remember. Richard Nixon was the first president I ever voted for, despite party labels. John Kennedy is the first president I ever studied, and I considered him a conservative before I knew what a liberal really was. I mean, at the end of the day, Kennedy said things, you know, about doing for your country instead of your country having to do for you. You know, the Bernie Sanders slogan of ask what your country can do for you instead of the other way around. The mantra of today's Democrat seems to be, we'll do everything for you. You can just sit on your butt and do nothing, and the government will pay for everything. The government doesn't have anything to pay for things with. And needless to say, that's when a phone call comes in, to which I say, decline.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. Where does the government get its money? It gets its money from you. Gets its money from me too, but they don't get much. At the end,
that's what everybody's forgetting about when it comes to, well, give us free education, give us free health care, give us free everything. But where it's, as you have said, it's not free because us are paying for it.
There is only one way that something is free, and that is if the person who is giving it to you, if the company who is giving it to you gives it to you with no expectation of getting something in return. Guess what? That professor at that liberal college that you want to go to for free is not giving away his or her services. The school is not providing the books. The school is not providing the resources, the facilities, the grounds for nothing. They have to pay for it, so you get to pay for it. Because at the end of the day, if they're looking for somebody other than you to pay for it, it's the government. And we're back to square one. You pay the government. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. I was among the very first to join the all-volunteer military. I served in the United States Navy with pride and honor. All at the behest of a doctor at the recruitment center who looked the other way at my height. 6'6" is the cutoff in the military, and I'm 6'9". I guess they were still a bit anxious about the whole all-volunteer thing and how that was going to play out. So I got in. Personal. I have a daughter, I have a granddaughter. My wife is a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, although she does have some very nice qualities in spite of that. We have one of those James Carville, Mary Matlin type marriages. If you're under the age of 50, you probably don't know who I'm talking about, but look it up. She and I try to avoid discussing politics at home, although each of us has, on occasion, voted for members of the other's party, figuring that in some cases, you have people who are saying what you want said, but they've stuck an R or a D behind their name more out of convenience than conviction. So that's who I am. And now we'll turn it over to the distinguished Ronald Crider.
I'm distinguished because I'm 79 years old. Okay,
I thought it was because of the books behind you.
Yeah, look at all these books. This is incredible. By the way, I want you folks to know, as you watch our videos from time to time, you'll notice that we could be broadcasting from, like, the Oval Office. We could be in the Oval Office, right?
I could do that.
We could be in the Oval Office. We can be here in the library, in my library. I mean, this is a fabulous library. I'd like you all to come and visit it someday.
I'm going to the beach myself.
Okay, so now we're at the beach. So you never can tell when the program starts exactly where we're going to be. It's not like we're going to be on the Fox set, although that would be nice if we could be. By the way, I'm Ron Crider. I'm a lifetime conservative. With the exception of the Kennedy years, I'm a little bit right of Rush and a little bit left, a lot left of Alex Jones. I'm a pro-lifer, evangelical Christian, an admirer of Billy Graham and Cardinal Dolan and the Liberty University. I've had two interesting experiences in South Carolina, both of which I didn't care a lot for, but I got through it. I'm a better person for it. One was Bob Jones University. Can you believe I went to Bob Jones University? It's not true.
Yeah, the only Jones I ever associated with was the fast food restaurant, but that's the topic for another show.
Now, Bob Jones University, pretty conservative operation. I didn't go to the university, folks. I went to the academy. That's kind of like the prep school. That's why one of my names is the world's oldest preppy. because I wear a lot of preppy clothes and so forth. But
he really does.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Anyway, it was a good experience. It didn't hurt me at all. I learned a lot by going there. They are so conservative. They took Billy Graham's Doctor of Divinity degree away from him because they said he sold out. That's being ultra conservative. Of course, Parris Island. This is a very short story about Parris Island. I got drafted. I got a phone call on Friday afternoon when I was working in Fort Lauderdale. I was like 20 years old, 21 years old. Got a phone call from my draft board. Draft board says, wasn't the draft board. It was somebody who said they were from the draft board. I know they weren't. And said, you are going to be drafted on Monday. You've already taken your pre-induction physical. You are going to be in the Army on Monday. So if you would like to join another branch of the service, you have a few more hours to do it today. I'm sitting in my office. I'm 21 years old, and I looked down at the end of the hall, and there's a guy in a uniform that I didn't recognize the uniform, but it was a nice-looking uniform. And I went down to him, and I said, so, what branch of the service are you in? And he says, I'm in the United States Marine Corps, sir. And he's calling me sir. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And I said, how long would it take me to get into the Marine Corps? And he says, let's see, about 30 minutes. Get you to the Marine Corps in a heartbeat. Well, the next thing I know, I'm sitting at the commanding officer's desk at the Marine Corps office in actually West Palm Beach, and I am being sworn into the Marine Corps. I had to take some tests, which they graded, and they didn't know what grade to give me. I said, well, you're going to give me a grade. Give me a good grade, for heaven's sakes, if you don't know how to grade these things, which they did. Here's the coup de grace. So he says to the CEO says to him, he says, so when does Crider go to Parris Island? And I said, oh, man, have I made a terrible mistake. This guy is not Parris Island material. No. I'd already read that book. That's a bad book. Ribbon Creek. Oh, no. Crider can't go to Parris Island. I thought the Marine Corps had something to do with boats. It does. You ride on boats to go get shot. That's what it's all about. Anyway, that's what happened. That's how I ended up.
Yeah, see, the Navy, we deliver you.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Pick up and delivery. So.
But nonetheless, it was a great experience being in the Marine Corps, and I'm a lot better off for having done it. And another show, another time, we'll talk about my experience at boot camp, which was unbelievable. It could only happen to me. Anyway, over the years, I have had a relationship with the Mormon Church. I did a lot of work with the Mormons. At one time, the Mormons were going to buy 200 square miles of southern Belize, and I worked for them and went down to help them do that. They changed their mind. They didn't do it, but nonetheless, I worked with them, and they were good folks to work with. I was confirmed in the Lutheran Church, held a membership in the Methodist Church, Presbyterian Church, and the Episcopal Church.
And you've worked for the Catholic Church, you've worked for the Jewish Church.
But I haven't done a lot with the Jews. I need to get onto that, though, I understand. By the way, I totally do support the Electoral College. I thought I would just throw that in. My education is really spotty. I went to a whole bunch of different schools, and I mentioned Bob Jones Academy. I went to Florida Military Academy. University of Chicago, I only attended I took speed reading or something like that, University of Chicago. DeVry Technical Institute, that was a good school to go to. There was only one problem. When they asked me to help teach classes, I thought, that's kind of like asking me,
blind leading the blind.
I went there to learn something, not to teach me something. I didn't know when I went there. I said, I don't think this is a good school for me. Bad plan. I should have gotten a college degree.
You should have asked for the discount program.
Yeah, probably should have. Anyway, I was communications sergeant in the Marine Corps. I've owned a bunch of radio stations in Colorado and Florida. I've been on the board of directors of 3 commuter airlines. I've built hundreds of towers worldwide. I have 4 children, 4 grandchildren. I have twins, a boy and a girl, who live up in New York. And my daughter has twin daughters who just graduated from college. So that'll give you an idea how old I am. So there we go. And here we are in my library today. Thanks for joining us. Well, keep going. Don't stop now. Getting started.
Now that you've had the opportunity to learn who Ron and I are, and trust me, it's the very basic, low-level education of who we are, because we are just so incredibly diverse. At the end of the day, when you tune into 2 old white guys without privilege, you're going to hear us discuss our perspective on today's political environment. We're both conservatives. We're going to rip the hell out of the liberals. Hopefully we'll do it with some entertainment. Hopefully we'll do it with some panache. And if you've got some thoughts, be sure and leave them as a message on this video. Yep. And we will try to get them out. If it's a really good thought, we'll share that your name with our listeners, provided you say it's okay. And who knows, if you've got a webcam, we might even have you on with us.
We have a couple of liberals who will be joining us. Mike Crute's going to join us from Milwaukee. He has Revolution Radio up there on WRRD and WTTN in Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin. Jeff Santos, who was a major liberal at Emerson University in Boston and used to operate and own a radio station there. He will join us from time to time. Hey, we're fair and balanced as long as it's our way, right?
That's right. We're more than happy to bring in sacrificial lambs whenever possible.
Yeah. And let me say this. These guys I can't figure out where they're coming from. I can't, do you have a clue as to why anybody is paying any attention to Bernie Sanders other than people who want free stuff? Do you have any clue?
No.
I mean, where's that coming from?
At the end of the day, Bernie Sanders, the appeal is understandable for today's millennial. Today's millennial doesn't want to have to do anything. They don't want to have to be responsible for anything. They don't want people to have expectations of performance. Bernie Sanders provides all of that and will hand you a check, allegedly, unless we manage to figure out a way to overcome him. And
every time I hear him talk, I think of BS, Bernie Sanders. I mean, that fits him so well. I mean, it's like, where is this coming from? And how are so many American people tuned into this guy? Let's face it, he's got a lot of people following him. I mean, it's not like he's got a couple of people that are hangers on. He's got real people following him.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. And maybe I'm just dreaming. The media has always made a point of elevating everything that the Democrats do and minimizing everything that Republicans do. At the end of the day, personally, I don't believe as many people follow the edict of Bernie Sanders. They might follow to listen. It's, entertaining conversation. But I don't think that many people are actually prepared to pull the trigger, push the button, flip the lever, whatever. Flip the liver. That's it. And I don't even drink.
Let me say this though. That's what you and I think, and that's what the Democrats think about Trump. Because they said, look what happened. I couldn't believe it. I was sitting in my studio doing the election returns that night. It was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. But nobody believed that. Nobody believed that anybody was going to go out and vote for him. Who's going to vote for this guy? Nobody's going to vote for Trump.
And they're still crying about it. But at the end of the day, I think, quite frankly, you, me, and the fence post, if Bernie Sanders is the Democrat nominee, and for the life of me, I can't believe that the Democrat Party will allow that. They'll come up with something.
Hey, the DNC did it before to him.
They did it before, they'll do it again. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, he would be the perfect person to put up against Trump because Trump would absolutely crucify him on the debate stage.
Well, we would like that.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily think that will happen. I honestly and truly believe that probably Bloomberg is going to get in there somehow, and it's going to be a rigged deal. It's probably going to be a brokered convention, as everybody keeps saying, whatever that means.
And
the third
that means we have the opportunity to take all the Bernie Sanders delegates and throw them in the trash. But who are they going to pick? I mean, think about it. If you want somebody who's feisty and who's willing to get in a fight, you pick Elizabeth Warren. Well, it's count the number of ways that Trump would just absolutely eviscerate her on the debate stage.
I mean, look at this woman. Let's face it. Look at all the places she went and disguised herself as being an Indian, or at least got in on the basis that she was, and she got loans, and she got into great schools and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, she got into Harvard. Or the only reason she got into Harvard, this has been documented. The only reason she got into Harvard over other people with the exact same grades is because she put down that she was a minority. And I'm sorry. I have absolutely no Indian blood in me. And if I do, it's probably more than Elizabeth Warren. But at the end of the day, every Native American in this country will stand up and say, not no, not hell no, but you know what, no. Elizabeth Sanders cannot be the president. All because of that one thing. And then you've got so many other things.
Elizabeth Sanders?
No, Elizabeth Warren. No, Elizabeth Warren didn't marry Bernie Sanders. There's no Elizabeth Sanders. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh.
That's pretty amazing, though, when you think about it. So, I wonder about things like that. And I want to bring up one thing today, just to show you that I don't know about you, I can have compassion for people. I'm not a fan of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Not at all.
No.
And we voted for Trump, and I used to say this all the time. We're not voting for him to be our priest, for him to be our pope, for him to be our spiritual leader. We're voting for what he can do for us, especially with respect to the Supreme Court. Okay? Well, he's done a good job with the Supreme Court, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg isn't necessarily our best friend over there. But I watched a TV show the other night with her, about her. And it's a documentary type thing, but it's, as actors playing her part. She had a very interesting life when she grew up, and she worked very, very hard. She was the first woman to graduate as a lawyer from Harvard University when women weren't supposed to become lawyers. And she was there for 2 years, and then she left there to go to Columbia because her husband had become ill. And while he was ill and he was going to law school at Harvard, she went to school for him and her, and so they could both graduate. Then they moved to New York, so they went to Columbia, and she graduated. She was first in her class for the first 2 years at Harvard, first in her class at Columbia. She did a magnificent job. And then she brought this case that really made her quite famous, and I had not heard about it. And that was about a guy, a caregiver for his mother in, I believe, Arizona or someplace. And the IRS would not let him take that as a deduction because that's a female job. And so
it's ironic, to say the least. But the biggest liberal on the Supreme Court got her stature by standing up for a guy instead of a gal.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I mean, but see, this is the thing. This is why there are times where, okay, this guy has an R behind his name, but, I'm sorry. You're just, and I'll push the lever for the D. Because the D is at least on the planet Earth. Here's a perfect example. Randy Weber is my congressman. And there is a guy who is going up against him in the primary. So he's a Republican too. But his whole platform is zero immigration. None whatsoever. Not legal, not illegal, no work visas, nothing. Now, I hate to say it, I hate to break it to him, but you trace back the lineage of every person in this country, and with the exception of the Native Americans, the legitimate ones that have no relation to Elizabeth Warren, we're all immigrants. We're all the descendants of immigrants. I've worked with guys who were here on work visas. I've been here. I've worked with people who were in this country because of some program that allowed them to be here legally. They paid taxes, they were part of the community, the whole 9 yards, and they provided a benefit and, in many cases, an education to people that otherwise wouldn't have that person's ability. To say absolutely no immigrants, to me, I don't care how big the R is behind your name. It's offensive. And if Randy Weber were walking out the door and the only thing that I could vote for in opposition to this guy is a Democrat, because that is not who we are. That is somebody who is perpetuating the mythological stereotype of racist, bigot, homophobe, whatever, blah, 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 blah. You're not going to win any points by taking the extreme view of either party. And the problem with today's Democrats is they can't even find the left side of the screen because they're so far off the left that they can't even reach back. That's the same thing as this guy who's running against Weber in the primary. There is a box, okay? There's a box. Find your place in that box, whether it's in the right, whether it's on the left, whatever. When you go outside the box, I've got no use for you. And I don't care what the initial is behind your name.
By the way, the best thing that's been going on lately, and let's say that today is February the 21st, 2020.
Let's say that.
It's
the 21st.
That's what it really is. We have to date stamp these programs. So when you're watching it, you don't say, what are those guys talking about? Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. But it's absolutely amazing. We just went through the primary thing in, where was that, in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, and as they say, and this is very true, the only person who won that one was Donald Trump.
Yep.
Because everybody else was fighting with each other. And that was good. And the other thing that's really good, I wanted to leave everybody with this, that this is a really important thing. All of that dust up stuff that's been going on lately, we haven't heard a peep from AOC.
Oh, yeah. No. She was on The View.
Oh, they beat her up too on The View, didn't they?
At the end of the day, here's the thing. This is the funny part. A lot of people, the media is not talking about this at all. But whether it's AOC, Rashid Tlaib, anybody in that squad, every one of them has got both Republicans and Democrats running against them, because everybody said, "What? This is not helpful. You're not doing me any favors by sitting there being like this." So, hey, at the end of the day, I couldn't care less if all four of those women were replaced by other Democrats. I'd love to see Republicans. But
anybody but them. Anybody but them.
Yeah, say that again.
I said anybody but them.
Yeah, your microphone just died.
My microphone died. My microphone's pretty happy here.
Yeah, I'm getting a very small amount of volume, and it's all shielded in static.
Okay, so what we need to do is, since you are recording, you should stop your recording, and we'll just say goodbye to everybody today, because we may post this just for fun to see if anybody cares. But if you do, give us no, seriously. I'm serious. Why not? I mean, it won't hurt anything, and we can always dump it if we don't like it. And if anybody out there thinks that you like what we're doing, because we're going to do a lot more of this stuff, and there's no time limit. I mean, we might be on for 10 or 15 minutes.
Actually, no, there is. Your observation that you shared earlier was inaccurate. It's not 40 times, it's 40 minutes. Bye.
Okay, there you have it. This was just a test. It wasn't actually a real program. I want to give you an idea as to kind of what we do. Kevin and Ron, two old white guys without privilege. If you like the program, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. There'll probably be some more. And it's all going to be about politics and what's happening today in the world. Pretty conservative stuff, but we're going to have some liberals with us as well. Mike Crute's going to be with us from Revolution Radio. Jeff Santos is going to be with us as well. So have a great day. Thank you for watching this pre-program.